Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha TV. You're watching Question Hour. Well, this is one show where we get you the proceedings from the Parliament and the questions asked by the members from the government. I'm your host, Rajat KAIN, joined with my colleague, KRITI MISHRA.
Thank you so much, Rajat. And as our viewers know that right now, recess of Parliament that is going on, and in this edition, we'll get all the questions asked by the members of the upper house during the first part of the 253rd session of the Rajya Sabha, or the first half of the budget session of Parliament, and questions asked by the members of the upper house. Well, Rajat, Question Hour is a very important tool in India's parliamentary democracy, giving an opportunity to the members to ask questions from the government to fix accountability.
Well, broadly speaking, there are three categories of questions: start, unstart, and the short notice ones. Start are the ones where replies are given directly on the floor of the House, whereas in unstart, replies are given in the written format. And our show, Question Hour, emphasizes on the unstart questions.
But Rajat, how are these questions asked? How are they answered? Here's a small presentation for our viewers.
A member submits his or her questions at least 15 days before the office of Rajya Sabha chairman. The Rajya Sabha Secretariat chooses the questions to be answered through a draw of ballots. Separate ballots are held for starred and unstarred questions. The questions are scrutinized for admissibility under the current rules and precedents. Questions are disallowed if they are not in order. Advance copies of chosen questions are sent to ministry or departments concerned. The ministry concerns collect information to prepare the reply. The minister concerned reply to starred questions on the floor of the House and provides written answers to unstarred questions. Up to 160 unstarred questions are listed every day in a separate list. Well, there you saw a presentation showing how these questions are asked. So, Kriti, now it's time to begin with the show. Well, the first question of this edition of the show, the question was asked by MP Saroj Pandey from Ministry of Finance. Well, the member sought details of help given to states so as to meet their expenditure on the GST compensation. She has sought details state-wise.
Well, GST was the biggest reform as far as indirect taxation regime is concerned. And of course, because of COVID-19, we saw several disruptions and there was shortfall as well. And the government of India had come up with a special window to meet this shortfall to pay the compensation to the states. And this response has been given by MOS Finance, Anurag Thakur. He goes on to say that in order to meet the shortfall in goods and services tax or GST compensation to be paid to the states, the Government of India had set up a special borrowing window in October 2020 to raise the estimated shortfall of 1.1 lakh crore. An amount of 84,000 crore has been borrowed through this window by the Government of India up to 3rd of February 2021 on behalf of the states and UTs with Legislative Assembly, and has been passed on to the states or UTs as a loan on back-to-back basis to help the states and UTs to meet the resource gap due to non-release of compensation due to inadequate balance in GST compensation fund. In addition to providing funds through the special borrowing window to meet the shortfall in revenue on account of GST implementation, Government of India has also granted additional borrowing permission equivalent to 0.50% of gross state's domestic product or the GSDP to the states, choosing option 1 to meet GST compensation shortfall to help them in mobilizing additional financial resources. All the states have given their preference for option 1. Permission for borrowing an amount of 1,06,830 crore or 0.50% of GSDP has been granted to 28 states under this provision. So that was the detailed response given by the government as far as compensating the states for GST shortfall is concerned. Now let's move on to the next question, and this one has been asked by MP MV SHREYAMS Kumar, and this question is to the Ministry of Law and Justice. And the member has inquired about the requests that the centre has received for establishing High Court benches across states in India.
Well, it's a very important question, Kriti, and reply to this query is given by Minister of Law and Justice, Ravi Shankar Prasad. In the reply, the ministry says that High Court benches are established in accordance with recommendations made by Jaswant Singh Commission and judgment pronounced by the Apex Court in 2000 and after due consideration of a complete proposal from state governments which has to provide necessary expenditure and infrastructure facility, and Chief Justice of the concerned High Court, who is required to look after the day-to-day administration of the High Court. The proposal to be complete should also have the consent of Governor of the concerned state. Requests for establishment of High Court benches in place other than the principal seat of High Courts have been received from various organizations from time to time. However, at present, there is no complete proposal pending with the government.
Joining us on the Question Hour show is Rajya Sabha MP, Mr. M.V. SHREYAMS. So, welcome to Rajya Sabha Television and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So, during the first part of the 253rd session of the Rajya Sabha, you'd asked a very important question to the Law and Justice Minister about establishing regional benches of the High Courts across states. Certainly a very important issue. The states have been clamoring for it. What is your take?
You see, as of now, the total number of pending cases in various high courts in India is about 51.57 lakhs. And out of which 25% of the cases are pending for more than 10 years. And 29% of the cases are pending between 2 to 5 years. And, of the total strength of judges sanctioned in India is 1,079 in various high courts of India. And there's a vacancy of 39%, that is, as of now, 419 judges are vacant. This means on an average, a judge of High Court to dispose around 2,000 cases to reduce the number of cases pending over 10 years and to dispose of around 7,800 cases to remove all pendency. In the Kerala High Court, the total number of cases pending is to the tune of 2.07 lakhs. At present, Kerala High Court has a vacancy of 7 judges, as against a sanction strength of 47. Only yesterday, 4 judges were appointed. This means each judge of Kerala High Court has to dispose of around 1,300 cases, which are more than 10 years old, and must dispose of around 5,200 cases to remove all the pending cases. Even though this is a slightly lower than the national average, it is still mind-boggling. High Court, this is the scenario. That's why we said it is better to have more benches in many states. Especially Kerala has been demanding a bench in Trivandrum, which existed before the Kerala state came in. In 1956, there was a bench in Kerala High Court. And in Kerala, most of the cases are related with the government. And High Court have original jurisdiction in the case of writ petition, PIL, also appellate and revision jurisdiction in civil and criminal matters. Kerala has 14 districts. People living in Kasaragod has to travel around 350 kilometers to reach the High Court. And people who are living in Trivandrum has to travel 200 kilometers. As I said, most of the cases are related to the government of Kerala. And the government spends an average of 3 crores of TADA per annum. Not only that, the amount of manpower to be used for this is very high. More than half the cases, the High Court as states as a party. That's why we are demanding that a bench to be allotted in Trivandrum. Karnataka has a principal seat in Bangalore, and they have seats in Dharwad and Gulbarga. Madhya Pradesh has the principal seat in Jabalpur. They have one in Gwalior and Indore. Maharashtra has one in Mumbai, the principal seat, and benches in Aurangabad and Nagpur. Rajasthan has the principal seat in Jodhpur and a seat in Jaipur. Madras has, as I told you, Chennai and Madurai. In UP, Allahabad and Lucknow. In Kolkata and Jalpaiguri. So you see, Allahabad court, of course, the population is so high, so the pendency is the highest in Allahabad court in UP. So in Kerala, to dispose of these cases, like there is infrastructure in Trivandrum. It's only a question. The government has taken a decision in 1996 to set off a bench in Trivandrum, but the central has not given permission. Once that is done, it will be easier for the litigants to get justice in a prompt and easier manner.
All right, sir. So what's your demand?
Well, the reply says Jaswant Singh Commission has, they're following the Jaswant Singh Commission, for setting up the High Court. See, decentralization is essential in a democracy. After all, courts exist for convenience of litigants. And whereas whenever a particular rule does not serve the convenience of litigants, the union government and the court should always be prepared to change the rule. That's why I said if there is any amendment required in the Jaswant Singh report, that needs to be done. The delivery of law and order and justice is at the core of public good. Allahabad High Court, as I said, having a lot of cases. So my submission to the government is that looking at the number of cases in each state, especially the parameter of how many cases are pending for more than 10 years, how many cases are pending between 2 to 5 years, they must set up benches in important cities so that this case can be disposed and litigants can get their problems sorted out. This is my suggestion to the government.
Well, that's a valid point that you're making. Thank you so much for joining us and speaking to us, sir.
Well, moving on to next question that was asked by MP Anand Sharma from Ministry of Health. The member sought details of how the passengers travelling by air has been checked and inquired for COVID and what other steps has been taken by the government.
Well, Government of India has taken several steps to identify and track the COVID-19 patients using air travel, and this detailed response has been given by MOS Health and Family Welfare, Mr. Ashwini Kumar Chaubey. So the minister says that as per the information available with the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, no objection certificates or NOCs were issued for medical transfer for COVID-19 positive passengers through air ambulance for medical treatment. To identify and track COVID-19 positive patients using air travel, the steps taken are medical institution involved in evacuation certificates that the patients are fit for medical evacuation. The risk of medical air evacuation of serious cases should be well explained to the relatives. An undertaking that the government will not be responsible for death, if any, en route. The final destination or airport or hospital or state are ready to receive the patient. The patients will be advised to proceed directly from airport to the hospital after obtaining all necessary clearances. Details of such passengers and persons accompanying them are shared with integrated disease surveillance program for follow-up and further necessary action. The co-passengers or crew members should self-monitor their health for next 14 days after arrival to India and report development of any COVID-19 symptoms like fever, cough or breathing difficulty to 1075 or to state helpline. The aircraft would be disinfected after the journey as per protocol. With partial resumption of air travel under Vande Bharat mission and under the transport bubble scheme, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare issued guidelines for international arrivals on 24th of May 2020, and that is also available on Ministry's website, which was later updated on 5th of November 2020 and again available on Ministry's website. And now let's move on to the next question, and this one has been asked by member Prabhakar Reddy Vemi Reddy, and this question is to the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. And the member has asked and inquired details about R&D projects as far as solar panels are concerned.
A reply to this query was given by R.K. Singh, Minister of State Independent Charge for Power, New and Renewable Energy. The ministry says that under Renewable Energy and Research and Technology Development Program, various research institutions and industry are provided financial support for carrying out renewable energy research in solar cells and modules with the overall objective of improving efficiency, reducing cost and developing new techniques. The ministry has provided support for developing crystalline silicon solar cells with targeted efficiency of 22% to National Centre of Photovoltaic Research and Education at IIT Bombay. Roll-to-roll perovskite solar cells to IIT Bombay and passivated emitter and rear cell solar cell with targeted efficiency of 21% to Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited. At present, there is no anti-dumping duty imposed on import of solar panels from China. However, there is a safeguard duty imposed on such imports. Sale of solar PV modules attract 5% goods and service tax. There are some input items being taxed at their respective higher GST rates, leading to an inverted duty structure. The seller of solar PV modules is eligible for credit of GST paid on inputs and is also eligible for refund of unutilized input tax credit on account of tax inversion. To attract investments in solar manufacturing sector, a foreign direct investment cell and a project development cell has been created in Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. Further, in order to enhance India's manufacturing capabilities and exports, on 11th of November 2020, the government has approved the induction of production-linked incentive, that is PLI scheme in 10 sectors including high-efficiency solar PV modules. The outlay of PLI scheme for high-efficiency solar PV modules is 4,500 crore. Solar power projects have been delayed because of disruption caused by COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic has been recognized as force majeure and Ministry of New and Renewable Energy has given time extension of 5 months from 25th March 2020 to 24th of August 2020 for the RE project. Well, moving to the last question of this edition of the show, the question was asked by member Muhammad Nadimul Haq from Ministry of Health. The member sought details if the government is aware of the presence of microplastics in the food chain, and if it is so, are there any regulations for the same?
Well, certainly this is a very important issue, and this response has been given by MOS Health and Family Welfare, Ashwini Kumar Chaubey. And as per the Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR, under the ministry, no research so far has been undertaken on various aspects of microplastics present in the food chain. Further, as per the available literature, opinions on the safety of plastics vary widely. Scientific consensus on product safety is still elusive, as it is difficult to estimate the risk of chronic ingestion of contaminants from food packaging and also to estimate any public health impact that might result from that ingestion or to weigh the potential negative impacts against the known benefits related to reduce spoilage and microbial contamination. Further, as per the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, they have notified Plastic Waste Management Rules 2016 for environmentally sound management of plastic waste. As per the rules, the generators of waste have been mandated to keep steps to minimize generation of plastic waste, not to litter the plastic waste, ensure segregated storage of waste at source and hand over segregated waste to local bodies or agencies authorized by the local bodies. The rules further mandate that the plastic waste which can be recycled shall be channelized to registered plastic waste recycler, and recycling of plastic shall conform to Indian standards. The rules mandate the procedure, importers and brand owners to work out modalities for waste collection system based on the principle of extended producer responsibility. So those were the questions and answers that we could pack for our viewers in this edition of the Question Hour show. Stay safe, stay healthy and stay tuned to Rajya Sabha television.
Thanks for watching this edition of show, and you can also catch all our programs on the online platform of YouTube and follow RSTV on Twitter as well. Thank you. Goodbye.